You worked as a United Nations weapons inspector. You understand these issues. What do you think of depleted uranium being sent to Ukraine now? Britain we already sent it a few months ago in the tank shells. I know they have better armor piercing capabilities, but you and everybody knows what happened in Fallujah, what happened in Yugoslavia. These things have long-lasting effects on the environment and on people. So I don't understand how we can say we care about Ukraine and then we send depleted uranium to destroy their country.
Well, understand that the United States has not recognized the medical findings that you speak of. There's plenty of evidence to show that the United States has sought to manipulate the World Health Organization and other non-governmental, medical-related organizations that have investigated the consequences of depleted uranium poisoning in Fallujah and Basra and elsewhere. So the United States can't come out and suddenly change its tune. So it's always said that these weapons don't pose a threat, that this is anti-American propaganda, and therefore they're not going to let these reports influence important policy decisions pertaining to the defense of Ukraine, whom the United States claims they care about. The other thing is, while the media talks about the poor quality of the Russian weapons, I think the United States, especially the Defense Intelligence Agency and other intelligence services, know full well that Russian equipment is very good and designed to survive just about anything NATO can throw at it. And so when the British said that they're going to provide the Challenger 2 tanks, the thing that makes the Challenger 2 special from an offensive standpoint is the 120 millimeter cannon. But that cannon, using a conventional round, can't penetrate an advanced mod T-80 tank or the T-90 assault breaker tank. And so if you're going to give this weapon to the Ukrainians, you have to give them the means to convert that weapon into a tank killer, a Russian tank killer. And depleted uranium was assessed as giving the 14 Challenger 2 tanks that capability. Remember, we're talking 14 tanks. I don't know what the basic load of the Challenger is, and I don't know what percentage of rounds would be depleted uranium penetrator rounds. But they supplied Ukraine with sufficient ammunition to use the Challengers in a tank killing role. I think the Leopard has proven to be a disappointment on any number of levels. And the United States now is looking at providing the Abrams tank. And we're running up into the same quandary that if you don't give the Abrams tank world-class capacity to kill Russian tanks, then the Abrams tank will be destroyed on the field of battle, and that will be embarrassing. So we're now saying that if the Abrams go in, we're going to provide the Abrams crews with depleted uranium penetrators. The good news is we're only talking ammunition sufficient for 30 to 50 tanks. The bad news is that if the Ukrainians use this ammunition, or even if their tanks are destroyed with the ammunition inside and they start cooking off, that you are going to contaminate Ukrainian soil. And this will have a detrimental impact on the lives of any Ukrainian civilians who come in contact with the depleted uranium dust, so to speak, that's being produced. Remember, the dust isn't so much dangerous from its radiation standpoint. You actually get greater background radiation just standing outside than you're going to get exposed to depleted uranium. The reason why they use the term depleted is because its principal radioactive component has been stripped away through the enrichment process, and what's left is depleted uranium, a very dense, toxic metal. It is toxic. There's high toxicity. And when the metal is absorbed into the lungs and into the bloodstream, it can have very negative health effects on the person who absorbed it, and also anybody that may come in intimate contact with him. And this is why mothers of soldiers who have operated in that area, or civilians who live in Fallujah, are giving birth to defective children, because the child in the mother's womb, of course, is dependent upon the mother's bloodstream, and the mother is breathing in or otherwise absorbing this depleted uranium poison, this toxic metal, and that's getting in there, and then it's infecting her blood supply, and that blood supply is then transferred to the baby, so the baby is condemned for this kind of deformations and such. We know this, but we suppress it. We don't want to admit that this is what happens when you use depleted uranium.
Oh, that's horrific. Really, I've told I've said this before, that you have a higher rates of birth defects, congenital heart disease in Fallujah than you do in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. So I think that speaks for itself. And what you just described is really heartbreaking.